The year is 1999, and Capcom is swimming in infinite yen thanks to its prize survival horror franchise selling gangbusters with every new installment. For the development of a new game in the series, Meme Material Mikami appointed Hideki Kamiya and his ragtag RE2 team to take the helm once again while he ate glass in the office bathrooms. Early concepts of a Resident Evil 4 involved a superhuman cop in all red, investigating supernatural cases all around Europe. And as the development went on, Camel Toe steered the project into a more combat-heavy game with a stylish focus to get his boulders off. It wasn't long until Mikami flew in to rescue them from the pissy execs and gave the team the liberty to make a whole new IP that would come to be known as Devil Never Cry. Devil May Cry, fuck. We open to a biker chick from the moon, interrupting Dante's busy evening of sitting on his desk and looking cool. The half-demon, half-human, full Helsing reject gets his shit proper kicked before she tells him about an ancient evil sealed by his father that's trying to open a portal to hell to wipe out humanity in a remote goth island. And after finding out this mysterious woman's familiar resemblance, our mommy issue-bearing hero flies out to Melee Island to kill God and style on Spanish Muppets, all while finding out about his family along the way. For its time, DMC was a groundbreaking title, being one of the first commercially and critically successful 3D action games with a substantial focus on the combat. It's largely credited as the father of the amalgamous hack-and-slash character action similar to DMC genre. The first entry's combat is pretty bare bones with a number of combos you can pull off from the get-go. But as you progress, you'll amass a thick arsenal of swords and guns to use against exponentially harder enemies. For the Devil Arms, you have the Force Edge as a default sword that quickly gets replaced by Alistair, a cursed sword crackling with big dick energy able to penetrate anything. Afterwards, you find the Effort Gloves, flaming steel boxing gloves that focus more on getting close and personal with enemies, capable of dealing serious damage when charging up moves mid-combo, and the most broken weapon in the game. Near the end, you get to wield Daddy's Cunny Destroyer, Sparta. A buffed up Alistair stands the DT with a wider attack range that can come in handy when crowd controlling or farming enemies. The guns have more of a variety to offer, starting with the iconic Ebony and Ivory, serving mainly for combo extensions and juggling. The shotgun also packs a nasty cunt punch and is easily the best weapon in the game thanks to the plethora of exploits that can be achieved when equipped. The explosive grenade launcher deals the most damage out of all, making it perfect for bosses and stunning enemies. And finally, the vaguely Gygrass Nightmare Beta shoots lasers that bounce all around the room when charged, powerful enough to clear entire rooms in exchange for some Devil Trigger energy. Devil Trigger is mainly charged up by the number of attacks, dodges, and taunts you pull off in a fight. During DT, Dante turns into his persona and gets buffed up to run faster, jump higher, and of course, hit harder. Extra abilities such as flying and electroshock therapy can be unlocked, as well as extensions to the gauge itself to turn you into an unstoppable unit. Upgrades and moves can be purchased between missions or by finding goddess statues dotted about the place using red orbs as currency. Move upgrades are especially vital early on to be able to chain combos properly. You see, Devil May Cry was the first of many a Kamiya game to feature the style scoring system that incentivizes a player to perform better by chaining elaborate and flashy combos for that stylish S rank. This can be achieved by using the most out of your moveset, including your guns and your taunts. Funniest part being DMC1's particularly lenient 2-second timer between hits, making chaining these combos a pretty difficult feat unless you spam million stab and jump cancel repeatedly, thanks to the limited attacks that don't send enemies flying halfway across the room. Mission ranks are back from RE2 as well, keeping track of your time, damage taken, items used, and number of orbs collected to grade you from D to S, level to level. There really isn't a solid reward for mastering any of these stages aside from bragging rights and a few orbs to buy more shit with. Secret missions provide the occasional odd challenge that also helps with rankings, as well as providing blue orb fragments and larger health. These are also found hidden in levels alongside purple orbs for DT extensions and yellow orbs for continues, only used with the most pathetic effect. The more you play through Devil May Cry, the harder it is to avoid the RE influences oozing out of this game. The game itself is structured like a typical RE game, with progression itself being a backtracking key hunt whenever you're not fighting some annoying purple cats. It doesn't take a keen eye to notice how a good chunk of the enemies and bosses are lifted straight from those games with a demonic reskin. There's still giant birds, bugs, spiders, and big hulking flesh beasts with manic eyeballs, just all a little bit more sinister looking. Doesn't help that concept art reveals unused squids, snakes, and towering enemies with long and sharp claws. Its history also makes it stylistically a black sheep in the series. The dense and eerie gothic atmosphere is more prevalent than any of the action, especially when considering how much quiet time you spend in some levels. The crookedly panning and swaying dynamic camera disorienting the player helps convey the ever-present feeling of being trapped in this labyrinthian island. On the surface, it seems to foster some Scooby-Doo-ass European castle, but as you delve deeper into it, you take note of the alien architecture. Hallways become twisted and rooms massive with intricate decor. Statues have an ominous demonic look to them with pain expressions on their faces bathed in a warm hellish looking color palette during the sunset and a colder muted grey and blue during the evening. And even with the low bitrate PS2 quality, the sound design is hands down the best aspect of the game. The hefty feedback of the guns and swords make every impact a cathartic rush. Enemy barks are loud and distinct enough to telegraph each attack and gives the player enough time to react when off screen or literally clipping through walls. The ambience remains cold and menacing throughout. Midway through, you reach a point where the island is caught in the middle of a storm from hell, the castle now completely shrouded in dark clouds. The violent gusts of wind and thunder can be heard from the inside, as you revisit locations not really knowing what kind of new threat lies at the other end of the room. Segments like this are pretty spooky. Masami Ueda returns from RE2 to compose the game's OST, and he does a fantastic job covering both action and horror elements. Dante's fighting theme consists of hard-hitting breakbeats with a contemporary drum and bass techno-infused flair, matching the sword flying and bullet raining intensity of combat. Boss fight tracks share a common theme of evil demon fuckery, laying the foundation with heavy bass lines, wild guitar riffs, and frantic, convoluted beats, suiting the imposing vibes these giant otherworldly beings exude. And when roaming about, you'll be serenaded with the hellish sounds of dissonant keys and intelligible whispers reverberating and pulse-stretching throughout the castle, building the foreboding atmosphere. And as if the RE ties just weren't enough, you can even hear the safe theme from RE4 buried deep in the track played in the main hall. Some RE holdovers unfortunately work towards worsening the gameplay. The fist camera is beyond fucking problematic, and it ends up fucking the movement in cuts, which can lead to frustrating repositioning when fighting in cramped rooms. The true devil in this game is found in the fucking abhorrently aggravating platforming sections present in every mission that crashes the pacing into a septic pool of boiling cum. Devil May Cry's story is thrilling and charming in some aspect, but it's mostly basic and campy as fuck. The dialogue and acting are ridiculously corny, giving us gems like "Block off, Featherface," and delivery like all thanks to a bunch of slant-eyed gooks sitting in directing chairs not really knowing what they're doing. Dante's journey is a fitting enough coming-of-age story, at least for a grown man in his 30s. There's themes of familiar bonds that are hinted at but aren't delved into as much. Instead, all replaced with pseudo-incestuous implications with Dante and Trish's relationship that later on confirms his degeneracy in Beautiful Joe. My one true gripe with this game's story is the final fight with Mundus and its contrived, sloppy shmup segment that really drags the game's climax into an unrecoverable chasm. Revisiting Devil May Cry was a stinging round trip of an intense air hike through a supernatural vortex. Whatever the fuck that means. Honestly, this, alongside Silent Hill 2, blew off the handles for what the 6th gen of consoles and the medium itself had in store for us in the future. A really, really sad, bleak, depressing thing to think about in retrospect. The combat isn't the best, but it still holds up and fun to exploit with different strategies. The atmosphere is the best the series has been graced with, and its horror elements quickly became my favorite aspect that to this day has me occasionally coming back to look for inspiration. But most important thing of all, it's the footnote of famed Roll Guard master Hideki Kamiya's stylish legacy as a game director, having even more to show off after being done with the MC1.